Welcome to another episode of Out of the Pods. I'm Deepti.
And I'm Natalie. We had such an exciting week last week because Out of the Pods got into the top 20 on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Woo. And it's just been so exciting. We just want to thank you guys so much for listening in our first few episodes. But yeah, we just never thought that this would happen.
Yeah, we're so excited and we're just very grateful to have all of you guys out there because I wanted to say, like, you know, on our social media, like, I'm not able to put out like my whole personality, and I feel like this podcast is so fun to just, you know, be ourselves and, you know, share that we have these like fun moments together, and the fact that you guys are listening means so much. And of course, we're like self-publishing. We had no idea how hard it would be to, you know, start a podcast. It was just an idea, but anyways, life has been so much fun. Last week we went to brunch with Giannina. She is from season 1, for those of you who don't know. Her and her boyfriend Blake came and had brunch with us, and it was such a fun time. I think that was the first time, right, Nat, that we actually like sat down with somebody from past season and like had a real conversation with them. Like, it was so much fun.
Yeah, I wish you guys were like a fly on the wall during that conversation because I won't lie, like we spilled so much tea. Like when I watched season 1, I feel like there was a lot of context missing, and so some of the scenes I didn't really understand, and like Giannina provided that context. I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yes.
And then, you know, I think that we saw similarities between our seasons, not on what was on screen, but what happened behind the scenes. Like, you know, there's always those like people who kind of fake it on the show, and it was kind of interesting to hear there was someone on her season who did that and got away with it. Like, this person got a really good edit, and we had someone like that on our season. So yeah, it's just interesting to talk about like reality TV with someone who's gone through the same experience as we have.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we spilled lots of tea and lots of tequila.
Oh yeah, we took a lot of tequila shots. It was like Sunday at 1 p.m. But the conversation was getting so intense. I was like, I need to take a shot.
We're like
for this.
running home drunk to Natalie's place.
We got to go record this podcast.
Ooh, let's go.
We were also in LA earlier last week to film something fun for Netflix, so that's coming soon. But you know, it's crazy that we still are able to do these like really fun things and like film these small things.
Yeah, and I think we got like an email from Netflix like Monday night. We both looked at each other and we're like, should we go? Should we do it?
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, hopped on a plane the next day.
Yeah, hopped on a plane, spent 24 hours in LA and came back to record this podcast.
I do have to say it's a nice bonding experience for us though.
Is it?
I think so.
The pods
what are you
weren't
saying?
enough. The pods weren't enough for us.
Clearly not. We started a podcast.
We're already trauma bonded, and you really needed an LA trip.
I need more trauma, baby.
But yeah, so it was a really fun week.
Yeah.
And if we're being honest, like just this podcast alone has taken so much time. We have a small team. We've got Dania, our sound producer, and then we've got Chris doing our visuals. We'll introduce them probably in a later episode. But it's still been really tough because we just have a small team, and like Deepti said, we're doing this on our own, but it's been so fun, and we're glad that you guys are enjoying it. So we're just ready to get into it, I guess.
Yeah, we've got a packed episode today. We're covering all of the Love is Blind updates, along with recapping episodes 6 to 8 of season 4, which dropped on Friday.
Yeah.
So... But before we get into it, like, we got a lot of people sending in so much content from TikToks, like from all the socials. We've heard some crazy tea. Like, for example, Kwame auditioned for Married at First Sight. Did you see this?
Yeah, so there's a TikTok where someone takes a screen grab of one of the episodes from Married at First Sight. And so if you guys are unfamiliar with the show, they start some of the episodes with like these auditions, like American Idol, where you see singers auditioning for American Idol. They do the same thing for Married at First Sight. And literally, like, it's a
millisecond.
Yeah, like a very short clip. You see Kwame in the background during this like audition segment. People are saying like, oh, this guy like obviously wants to be on reality TV. He's not genuine. But I think people don't know that the production company that produces Love is Blind also produces Married at First Sight. So my theory is he auditioned for Married at First Sight. They really liked him, but he didn't end up on the show, and they saved his application for Love
Love
is
is
Blind.
Blind.
That's my theory.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think he's just out there, and Love is Blind was like, wait, let me just scoop him up. But I'm like the Hawkeyes for you people
I
out there. Like,
know.
seriously, you guys did great. And then let's talk about Zach's song, Blarney Stone. What, he didn't write that song.
Yeah, so if you guys remember, Zach sang to Irina back in the pods when he was proposing to her.
Ugh.
And he says, I wrote you a song. But then there's a bunch of TikToks that show that he didn't write the song.
Okay, so I put up a poll on this and I said, okay, do you guys think that they just edited it out where he's like, actually, I didn't really write that song, but no, everyone seems to be on the same consensus that he just lied. And I'm like, Zach, how did you think you're not going to get caught?
See, I don't think they edited out that. Like, why would he say, I wrote you a song and says, no, just kidding, I didn't.
Well, like, what if he like sang it and then he's like, actually, did you like it? I didn't actually sing it. I just tweaked a few words, you know? He could have said
I think you're
that.
reaching here, but
I know.
I actually I think he did respond to this.
Did he?
Yeah, I feel like I saw something where he responded and said they did cut something out where
He's just trying to save himself.
yeah. And I was like, you're just trying to save yourself.
Dude, also, anytime I see Zach on my socials, I'm like, who is this man with his beard and his curly hair? I'm
Yeah,
just
if
like,
you guys go to Zach's Instagram, he looks so
So
different than his appearance on the show, like
I
his
don't mind
physical
it.
appearance.
Actually,
Yeah, I think he's
yeah.
a cute guy.
Yeah. We also got a lot of updates on Micah. So last week, Irina and Micah pretty much doubled down on their mean girl behavior in their interviews with Entertainment Weekly by saying, if there were feelings hurt, so be it. And they kind of just chalked it up to, oh, this humor kind of was a way to, it was like a coping mechanism essentially to help them with this like really serious and intense situation. But I don't know, I felt like that was just such a cop out. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
There's different ways to have coping mechanisms, but it can't be at the expense of another person's feelings. But, I guess she did apologize, right?
Yeah, it was hard seeing them double down on what they did during those episodes, the first few episodes that we watched of this season. Because they were receiving so much backlash. So I was like, you're really saying that this was a coping mechanism? But I will give props to Micah. She did apologize a few days after that article came out on her Instagram story saying, I'm sorry I've triggered so many of you with my behavior. And it actually felt like a heartfelt apology.
Yeah.
She said, she hopes to grow from her immaturity. So, I hope to see that, whether it be during the reunion show or, hopefully there is an after the altar for them.
Yeah,
But
that apology was written really well. So either it was from her or from her PR
or she has a
team.
really good PR
I know, I
team.
was like, damn, you guys did well.
Yeah. But speaking about Micah, there was a TikTok video that came out about her and Paul, I think earlier last week. So a woman says that she met Micah and Paul in May 2022. We know that their season was filmed April to May 2022. So we're not sure if it was during filming or after filming. I think it was after because this woman met them at Scottsdale. This woman says that she met Micah and Paul because Micah lived in the same apartment complex
yep.
as her friend. And Micah came up saying I don't have a lot of friends here and just started chatting it up. But Micah admits that she did a big reality TV show on Netflix and says that her relationship with Paul was forced. We don't know if these two got married or not, but we have seen the same thing being said by other people as well throughout TikTok where people have met Micah and she says I've done this big Netflix show and they forced me to stay with Paul. So it's very interesting. Again, it kind of aligns what I heard from my sources where at least on her end it's not very genuine,
Yeah.
in terms of her intentions of being on the show.
No, exactly. And she gave up that information so easily. It wasn't like this friend had to extract this information out of her. But this bit of information made me watch these next couple episodes in a different lens.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I really want to like you guys, but I have this thing in the back of my head where I'm thinking about this video,
Yeah, because she's definitely getting the redemption edit. We're gonna go into the episode a little bit more, but she's definitely coming off very well compared to the first set of episodes that came
100%.
out 2 weeks ago. So yeah, but same thing for me. I just hearing what people are saying about her who know her personally or who have met her. And she's been very honest where she tells people yeah, the show forced me to stay with Paul type of thing. And then also what I've heard from people on set and from the cast, like it does make me watch her interactions with Paul in a
Differently.
different light. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then we also got an update from Jackie. She posted something to her Instagram and it kind of addressed why she was having a hard time in Mexico because we were all left really confused in the last set of episodes because she was just like kind of crying
Yeah.
and it turns out that her father has a cancer diagnosis and so she also is like the head of the household. So I'm assuming that she probably, supports them financially and emotionally as well. So I think there was a lot weighing heavy on her mind at that time, which it does speak to, why she wasn't fully present there.
Yeah, yeah. And we talked about this in our last episode, how we feel like Netflix edited out, some of the
Hmm.
context in terms of why she was having that breakdown in her conversation with Marshall
Yeah.
in Mexico. So this makes a lot of sense in my eyes. But she does, have similar moments throughout these next 3 episodes as well.
Yeah. We'll get into that. But before we do, Jessica Batten, oh my goodness, she is 30 weeks into her pregnancy. And oh my gosh, we are just so happy for her.
Yeah, so she posted on Instagram that she's 30 weeks along. And we were talking about this when we were at brunch with Giannina, and Jessica is thriving. I think she's thriving the most from
Yes.
the Love is Blind franchise. Like, she's
Hmm.
married to a hot
Like
doctor.
he is
She's
sexy.
pregnant. She lives in California. She just looks like she lives the life. And you could tell she's really, really happy. She rarely posts on social media, but when she
Hmm.
does, it's like you could tell she's just living a really, really good life. Fun fact, she is the first person I talked to before my season came out. So I reached out to her before my season came out just to get a lot of, just to ask for advice. And she is so kind, like
Hmm.
truly one of the kindest cast members I've ever met. And we've talked to a lot of them, throughout,
Yeah. Yeah.
after the show and like going to these Netflix events. And Jessica will always be my favorite.
Yeah, and even when we were filming, the camera woman that was working with us, she actually was the one who shot that scene of her giving the wine to her dog.
Jessica.
Jessica was, yeah. And so and she told me, she was like, she's the kindest, sweetest soul ever. When I filmed that, I thought it was just going to be something like really funny to put out there, but it became like a huge phenomenon. And like, she's so misunderstood. But that's what I've heard too. I haven't personally talked to her, but I've heard she's an amazing person, like
Yeah,
just a
she's
pure
just
good soul.
she's very nice. I will say, like, I don't think it's good to give your dog
No, that
wine.
was not, that's against her judgment,
but
but
we all kind of make mistakes sometimes. But I will say she is just like a really kind person.
yeah.
Not the person that is portrayed on season one. So
Yeah.
she's definitely grown from it.
Yeah. And also, we heard that Love is Blind is casting already for season 10 and 11. Like, what are the cities? Denver and Minneapolis, right?
Yeah, yeah. So they're already starting on casting for like future seasons. Like, we're just on season 4 and they're casting for seasons 10 and 11. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, good for us. So
Yeah.
we could keep talking about it,
Yeah.
but
Talk about job security,
job
right?
security. But bad news if you're not a big fan of the show.
Yeah. Well,
So,
then just don't watch it. Just
yeah.
keep scrolling.
So, this next set of news is not Love is Blind related, but it's reality TV show related. Mike Fleiss, the creator and executive producer of The Bachelor, announced he is leaving the Bachelor franchise after 21 years. And it was after an investigation into racial discrimination, according to Variety. So, there's a source in that Variety article that said people said he would retaliate against people for having minorities and Black people on the show. He favored certain people over other people. He would say minorities don't get ratings.
That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
And this is why I love Love is Blind over Bachelor Nation,
Hmm.
is that I think Love is Blind truly tries to cast like a very diverse, like they try to get a really diverse cast. And you don't really see that with the Bachelor
No.
franchise,
Yeah.
or Bachelor Nation. And so I don't know. I'm kind of glad that he's leaving.
Yeah, I've heard other people post about this and they're just like, this is gonna change the Bachelorette game.
I
Like,
mean, you hope so.
yeah.
I think that there needs to be changes in Bachelor Nation. I don't watch The Bachelor, Bachelorette,
Yeah.
but, I think people can agree, like, it's typically it's hard for minorities to get screen time.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Yeah. No, maybe now we'll start watching it.
Yeah. Anyways,
Let's get into it.
yeah, let's get into these
Woo!
new set of episodes of Love is Blind season 4. So, like Deepti said earlier, episodes 6 through 8 dropped, and they are action packed. Like, there is a lot that happens in these episodes, a lot of dramas. But episode 6 starts with the couples leaving Mexico. Everyone is in a good mood. They don't really show Irina and Zach. We already know that they've decided to end their relationship. But I was laughing at the scene where the couples are walking into their shared apartments, because I remember when we had to do that,
Oh my
like
gosh.
carry our suitcases in. And you just know that they had to film that like 3-4 times. And they have to act like so happy and shocked each time as they walk
Yeah,
into their
remember like
apartment.
Marshall's carrying those 2 bags up the stairs. I was like, at least we didn't have stairs.
Yeah. And I know we got a question about this, about the apartments. So production actually provides those shared apartments. So we just live in them during the duration of filming. But someone asked, like, do the married couples get to keep those apartments? And you don't. They're just for the duration of filming. You still have your like actual apartments. Like the contestants probably still have their actual apartments.
Yeah.
They just live in those shared apartments for filming purposes.
Yeah. Do you want to hear something fucked up?
What?
when we were in those apartments, Shake actually told my producer in front of me, he was like, I will marry Deepti if you let me keep this apartment for 2 years. Literally, I was like, my jaw dropped. I was like, the fact that he thought that he could just say that in front of me, I was just like, really?
Wait, was he serious?
Yes. Well, I don't know how serious he was, but it sounded very serious. He's like, I just love this apartment. I was like, bro.
To be honest, it was
They were really nice
apartments. Like we were in penthouses
Yes.
in the South Loop of Chicago, and the views were
Phenomenal. I was like watching fireworks all the time, like every Wednesday and Sunday.
Yeah,
It was so great.
they do fireworks at Navy Pier, and so you could see them from our windows.
It was so nice.
Yeah, it was really good. But that is
Yeah.
Shake would say that.
I know. But overall, in these episodes, there were so many moments that I found myself crying. And I think my favorite part about this set of episodes is meeting the parents, because it really creates so much more depth into their relationships, and like adds this like layer of intimacy, like where you get to see, like, even for us as viewers, you get to see like where they come from, who their families are, like how they were brought up. And I think that just like really brings the couples closer, and we get more attached to the people as well, you know? So I love that.
Can I just make a side comment? One of the things I love about Deepti is she's so positive. She's like, I love when the couples meet the parents. I thought, so there were moments that are like, oh, these are great, like, parent couple meetings. And then some were just like,
Not
like
good.
the Kwame and his mom phone call.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason why we'll get into that, because I think there's a reason why they aired that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course.
But I know what you mean. It's sometimes it can be really awkward, but in this set of episodes, I felt like they were actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, I did love when Chelsea and Kwame meet Chelsea's dad, Charlie. The way he was so supportive off the bat just brought tears into my eyes. I'm not gonna lie, I did cry during that moment because it reminded
Talk
me
about
of
positivity, honey.
I know. I backtrack everything I just said. Or what's that word? I take back everything I said. I backtrack. Well, it reminded me of my dad when Shane met my parents and how supportive my dad was. My mom was supportive to like an extent, but I think she was more of the, what are you guys doing? But just seeing when a parent is so supportive, regardless of how they're feeling, like I'm sure my dad wasn't happy about the whole experiment and the fact that I was getting married so quickly, and he might have faked his support, but I loved it because we're going through so much stress. Like I don't think people realize like the stress of filming and also working your real job at the same time and then trying to figure out if you're going to marry a person, like it really takes a toll on you.
Yeah. And that's why I loved what you said, because you were like, basically your dad kind of trusts you that you're making a good decision for yourself. And that's what it was for Kwame in reverse.
Yeah.
Because he was looking for that validation from his mom when he calls her. And I think that's why they aired this moment, because, you know, after he hangs up the phone with his mom, and we don't hear her, of course, but, you know, he says to Chelsea, he's like, hey, you have to understand that the decisions I made in my life have been good ones. And I accepted all the failures in order order to find the successes. So he's essentially like looking for validation to be like, hey, like I've lived my life and I've made mistakes, yes, but I've learned from them and you should trust me that, he just wants a little bit of credit and like support in saying that, I made the right choice by proposing to Chelsea and ultimately wanting to marry her. And, he just doesn't get that. And I think it's kind of sad.
Yeah, so I said a comment to Deepti yesterday as I was watching the episodes that like at some point parents just have to trust that they raise their kids to make the right decisions for themselves. And so I love that my dad did that. I love that Chelsea's dad did that for her. But yeah, it was really tough to watch the phone call Kwame had with his mom. I saw some comments on social media, people saying like, was that phone call faked? But like production doesn't do that. They don't have you like reenact
A scenario.
scenario or a scene again. My theory is that his mom didn't want her voice to be heard on TV and like probably didn't sign a release. So you're just hearing Kwame's side of the conversation.
Yeah, she probably just didn't want to be filmed.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's interesting with Kwame and Chelsea. I don't know. I'm having a tough time with these two because I'm just like scared of the outcome here. I just feel like they kind of want two different things and like the milestones that they want to reach in life. I feel like their timing is off. And did you notice this? Like I just felt like Chelsea is so damn sure of what she wants out of life, but I feel like Kwame is the one making most of the compromises. And like we love a sure queen, but I don't know. I didn't know how to feel about that because I was like, I don't know. It comes off a little pushy. Like, can you just give him something? Like,
Did you really say we love a shore queen?
yes, we love a sure queen. I love somebody she's just like fucking.
She's a sure queen.
She's so confident. She's confident in what she wants and she's not willing to budge. She's like, no, I'm not going to move to Portland. No, I'm not going to do it. Like.
I could see why it seems pushy because Kwame is so like, I don't even know if I would describe him like go with the flow.
Yeah.
It's tough though because like in one sense I agree with Chelsea when she says like marriage is compromised, but on the other hand, if you guys can't agree on fundamental things like when to have children and it really just doesn't align, like you could try compromise, but sometimes it's like incompatibility in terms of like your life goals.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like when she says, well, that's marriage for you, we hear her say it twice. And I'm like, you can't just say that. Like, yes, marriage is a compromise, but it has to be in equal parts, essentially. Because like, think about this scenario, right? They get married. Kwame moves out of his apartment in Portland, moves home or moves into Chelsea's apartment, right? And Chelsea goes to work 7 to 7 every single day. And that's like the majority of the time. He's by himself with her dog, which he loves. It's fine. Rocky's like amazing. But he doesn't have any friends. He has to leave behind soccer, leave behind everything, and it's not like, what does he say? He's like, it's not that I'm afraid to make these sacrifices, essentially. It's that, just I want you to understand that from my perspective, this is going to be a very hard transition for me. And, just to understand that.
Yeah, no, I see it. I think I had such a bad taste in my mouth after watching the first set of episodes, like after Kwame has that inappropriate conversation with Micah in Mexico, that I'm like constantly side-eyeing Kwame throughout these episodes. Because I won't lie, I did like him in moments in these new set of episodes until he has another conversation with Micah at Chelsea's birthday.
That was weird.
Yeah. I was like, okay, again, you guys are talking about how I saw potential in each other. I care about you. And I was like, really?
Like,
Kwame?
give it up. Like, move
give it
on. Honestly. And then when he does the interview, like the side interview of him, he's like, remember, he's like, Chelsea, or he says, Micah will always have a special place in my heart. It's like, bro, what? Like, no.
Yeah, no, she shouldn't have a special place in your heart.
No, please.
No, she shouldn't have a place in your heart at all.
Exactly.
Let it go. We have so much more to talk about Chelsea's birthday, but
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I did want to go back and talk about a comment that Kwame made in episode 6 where he says, 3 weeks ago I was sitting on my couch playing Xbox with my boxers on and like, here I am engaged. And I had the same thought. I remember, and I said the same thing to Shane when we were filming. Like I was looking at him on the couch and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like 3-4 weeks ago I didn't know you. And I was just like this like single girl in her cubicle, like typing away. I don't know. And then here I am on like
Now there's a
you
man
know,
on
in a
your
big ass
couch.
shared apartment with you, who I'm engaged to.
I know it's definitely a weird feeling. It's funny because I never had that moment because I didn't have an apartment in Chicago at the time.
Oh, right.
You
You were
know,
living
over.
in,
I was living back home with my parents
yeah.
in Bloomington,
Okay.
and so because I got rid of my apartment during COVID, and so I never had that. I was like, I'm so ready to get the hell out of here. Like that was me. I was like, change, change, change. But
Crazy.
yeah, it is kind of wild to think
Yeah.
about.
Don't you ever think about that? Like while we were
Mhm.
filming, like, wow, I can't believe 3 weeks ago we were kind of like living normal lives,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden things are just changed 100%.
Yeah, 100% different, like a full 180 on life. But well, speaking about full 180s, I feel like Micah and Paul's relationship definitely has taken a redemption arc.
Yeah, yeah. They are looking like they're a really good match. I will say I don't really see the chemistry between them. Uh,
You mean you didn't like the footsie playing on the balcony? You didn't find chemistry there?
I hate feet in general.
Me
Like even
too.
looking at your feet right now, I'm like, oh,
Bro, I have socks on. What do you mean?
oh.
No, but you're right. I
I was
also
just trying
hate
to be
feet.
petty.
She's so mean
I'm just
sometimes.
kidding.
Just kidding.
Um, yeah, here's the thing about them. We already know what we know about
Yeah.
them through like things we've heard from our sources, but also now people on social media who have talked about like meeting her and things that she has said about her relationship with Paul, which she said was essentially forced. Um, it's hard to watch these episodes because I feel like her and Paul are doing the same thing that Shane and I did.
In what way?
So Shane and I, like, I wouldn't say we faked our scenes, but we definitely like hid a lot from the camera. So I guess for a different intention. Like Shane and I were actually like very much in love and we were very much genuine for like our love for each other. Like I really thought I was going to marry Shane up until the end. But we did agree to put like our best foot forward and never to fight or bring our problems on camera for the reason of like if we have kids one day, like we don't want them to watch their parents fighting on TV.
Yeah, you were just considerate of how you
Yeah.
showed up.
And that's the reason why Shane and I, you know, during the episodes on our season, on season 2, we look like we're going to make it because we were really putting our best foot forward and just making sure we looked like a really happy couple. But in reality, we were fighting quite a bit behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like it was, I wouldn't say it was bad, but like we argued quite a bit and no one really saw that.
Yeah, I think similarly, like Shake and I would do the same thing. I think, like, I always told him, I was like, I really don't want to talk about intimate things on camera. Like, that's not good for my family to watch, too. So I definitely can understand that vibe where you're like, no, I really don't want to say certain things. And you like, anytime you go through life, right, you have these masks on. And, when you go to work, you put a certain mask on. When you're with your friends, you have a certain mask on. It's like, that's the same thing with reality TV. Filming is happening, your cameras are around you want to put your best foot forward. It's like
Yeah.
you're not going to air out your dirty laundry all the time. There's like certain
Exactly.
things you want to take care of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I remember one time Shane and I got into a really big fight and our producers knew about it. So they wanted us to talk about it on camera. And we were about to, and then again, Shane and I had the conversation like, what if our kids watch this one day? And then so our producers think that, they kind of like, they say like, hey, you're going to film tomorrow, like talk about the fight that you just had. So, it could be like, this is what's happening there in their relationship. And I remember Shane and I like in front of the cameras, just like act like a fight never happened.
Yeah.
Like and our producers are like, what the heck is going on? Not saying that we, again, weren't being genuine in front of the cameras. Like the love you see is the love Shane and I had for each other. But was it true reality or like a true reflection of how my relationship was with Shane? No.
Yeah,
Like
it's kind of like, say for example, you're going to a party, but like right before the party, you get into a fight with Shane, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're gonna go into the party together and start fighting. You're gonna be like, all right, let's just like fucking squash it for
Yeah,
now,
let's squash
and then
it.
we'll talk about it later, and I'm gonna yell at you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of like the vibe.
So I guess what we're trying to get at is it's easy to kind of fake scenes during filming because you're not filming 24/7. You have like set filming times and you have times to discuss like what you are gonna do on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we find that the meeting of the parents was actually really sweet with Micah and Paul. Like Paul's mom, tell me Paul's mom is not like a ditto copy of Micah.
Yeah, like I had this moment where I was like, oh, now I see
Now
why
it's
Paul likes
yeah.
Micah.
And also I have to say Paul's mom is the girlfriend that you want in your life because she dug so deep and got so much tea on her before she even got to that lunch. I was like, "Oh, like this is what the
Yeah.
level of investigation I need my girlfriends to have."
Yeah, Paul's mom goes like, yeah, I know that what your mom does. She runs a daycare. So she's saying this to Micah. She knows that Micah's mom runs a daycare and like where her parents are from and what her parents' names are.
So good.
Okay, like I get it. I
She's a
totally get it. But
paralegal.
her admitting it on TV made me cringe a bit.
No, she's a
Like-
paralegal. She's plugging it.
Like I get it. But I always say this. When a girl is dating another man, we become like FBI agents. Like we know everything, but do we
100%.
ever say it out loud? No.
I don't
I was
know,
like,
man.
keep the secrets to yourself. Paul's mom.
Maybe. I don't know. But Micah's parents were also really cute. They seemed very supportive.
Yeah. I did
chill.
love her dad. He's like,
The
I
serial
like
killer.
Paul because his name is Paul, but he might be a serial
Serial
killer
killer.
for all I know. He was funny.
It was really funny. Okay, let's really quickly talk about Irina and Micah's meetup though. I thought that was I loved when Micah was just like, like if I marry Paul and you get a little drunk, like are you gonna get flirty? Like, and that's a valid question in my opinion.
So I really liked how Micah confronted Irina. She was just like, Paul's not interested.
Yeah.
When Irina was like, oh, like, I just had an attraction to Paul after being with Zach, like all this stuff. So something must have gone down behind the scenes because Micah starts talking about how she heard in the airport on their way from Mexico to Seattle that, Irina had an attraction to Paul. And so there must have been conversations off camera. But I thought Micah was being really hypocritical as she was confronting Irina because
So hypocritical.
Micah flirted with Kwame.
Like 3 days ago.
I know. And Micah's like, oh, tells Irina, like, you're flirting with Paul, put me in a bad headspace. And I was like, how do you think you made Chelsea feel?
Yeah, I mean, granted, like Chelsea and Micah are not as close as Irina and Micah, but still, I'm like,
Still, no, that is not an
Yeah.
excuse. I thought Micah was so hypocritical. And I want to be like Karma's bitch.
yeah. Talk about kettle calling the black pot black. What is that? What is that saying, you guys? Talk about the. Oh, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. That's the term. I knew there was. I couldn't
Thank you.
remember it.
Thank you, Chris,
Thank you, Chris.
our visual videographer over here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, okay. Talking about like Mean Girls, I don't know what it is, but Micah, I feel like just attracts friends that are kind of mean. I don't know. Like when we had that, when Paul came, or when Micah brought Paul to her best friend's birthday party. I was just so turned off by that entire interaction. Like they were being such bullies to Paul, in my opinion. Like, what is her name? Shelby?
Shelby. It's Shelby. I didn't really understand that conversation. Like why Shelby took the stance of not liking Paul and thinking like he wasn't good enough for Micah.
Yeah, I have an interesting theory about that.
Okay, what's your theory?
My theory? Okay. So just because we've been hearing all these like kind of rumors and things about Micah and Paul not being genuine, essentially, I don't know why my head went here, but what if like Micah talked to her friend and was like, why don't you just like why don't you just disapprove of this relationship so I kind of have more like support for leaving him at the altar or like for our relationship not working out. I don't know. It could be really far fetched, but I don't know why my mind went there immediately when I was like, because she came on so forcefully and I was like, dude, you've literally known him like maybe an hour and you're already like making these assumptions that he's not good enough or like this isn't what you deserve. Like,
I mean, that is an
What?
interesting theory because I'm sure Micah already talked about Paul to her friends before that scene.
absolutely.
Just like we both did.
Yeah,
Like,
and not to mention, remember as soon as we got our phones back after Mexico, what was the first thing we all did? Creeped on every single person on Instagram. We were just like, who is everyone? Like, I know my brother and my sister-in-law were like, who is Shake? Like, who the hell is this person?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know they're gonna do that.
I mean, the first thing I did when I got my phone back is I FaceTime my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had like private conversations being like, this is how my conversation or like this is, what my connection to Shane is like. This is how I'm feeling. And I was really honest. So I don't know if Micah did that with Shelby at one point. That wasn't shown. So Shelby came to the conclusion that like he's not good enough for her. Or yeah, you're right. Maybe, she asked Shelby, can you act like you don't like Paul? So that's my out when I get to the altar. I don't know.
And it's also I found it kind of distasteful that Micah didn't stick up for Paul. She kind of was like more on her friend's side. And what did Micah's like, can't say that I care about like some of the comments that Shelby was making. And Micah's like, well, that's a really bad attitude to have. Like you should care what she says. And it's like, bro, like stick up for your fiance. Like he's being fucking bullied. What do you say, a roast of Paul? And that was a roast of Paul.
I will say I do love how Paul was like I don't care what you, or like I don't really care what she says, or I like don't personally like take it.
I loved it.
I was like,
let's
good
go,
for you,
honey.
Paul. Good for you.
Good for you.
But yeah, they're a very interesting couple. Again, I think we're pretty like our perspectives on them are like clouded by what's been on social media and what we've heard. So I feel bad just like kind of recapping their story right now because I do feel like we're a bit biased.
I know, I feel bad about that, but who we're not biased about is Tiff and Brett. Like, bro, the perfect couple.
They are the Lauren and Cameron of this season. I am
Chef's kiss.
like 99% sure they're getting married. If they're not, shame on Brett or Tiffany, whoever says no at the altar.
Yeah.
Because they're perfect.
Exactly. I liked the scenes where they're intermingling. That was like some of my favorite parts is when they get to see their apartments and things. And Brett has some money, honey.
Brett has some money. Like he makes just like a casual comment asking Tiffany, like, do you like my place or do you think we need to upgrade to a 2 or 3 bedroom? And I was like, oh, I was like, those are words of love.
I know. And then he casually puts it in there when they're talking about like splitting financials and things. He's like, yeah, it could be like a 60-40 or like a 70-30. And I was just like, oh, Brett, like you trying to take like a majority of that portion. Like that was just, oh, I loved it.
I know, I loved it. But did you catch their conversation about the luggage, how he spent $200 on luggage?
Yes.
No, it's
No, it's
1200.
1200. Yes.
On a check-in luggage?
Yeah,
a check
like
back
the
luggage?
bigger. I call it the India suitcase because when I go to India, I get those giant ass suitcases.
Okay, for me, I was like, are you kidding me, Brett?
But also, he probably has an unlimited, like a lifetime warranty. So
Or
that
you
makes it worth it.
Or you could buy a $60 luggage every 10 years and still spend less than $1,200.
Girl, bye. Give me some fashion with the luggage.
Oh my god.
It's all about how you present yourself. And Brett presents himself so beautifully. He's so well dressed.
Yeah. I mean, clearly, I feel like he is the full package in that he's obviously got his life together.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a prominent job at Nike. He clearly makes a lot of money. And he is just like physically
beautiful.
Beautiful man.
Like a flawless chocolate man.
But Tiffany is also very beautiful. You could tell she's a
stunning.
kind
Yes.
person and just she's so genuine to me.
Yeah.
Like she is by far my favorite. What really angered me in these episodes is like Brett and Tiffany get like very little airtime. And I get it because they're drama free, but I'm like, yeah, we love the drama, but we also watch for the love stories. At least I do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And actually, one of their scenes was another moment that I cried in these episodes because when Tiffany's friend was talking about her, she got so emotional. And it just like kind of reminded me of my friendships because they just see like how good of a person you are and like she has such a beautiful soul that she just deserves the best. And the fact that she found that in Brett, I think is just like such a happy moment. And it really brought tears to my eyes. I thought it was so lovely.
Yeah. So Tiffany and Brett meeting Tiffany's friends and just seeing how obviously they want the best for Tiffany and you could tell they're protective of her, but what a difference to Micah's friend. Like the maturity level between those two friend groups it's like night and
Polar
day.
opposites,
Because they both want the best for their friends. I mean, Shelby says like, I just want the best for you. But the way that they do it, I think says a lot about them. I always say like the people you surround yourself with says a lot about you.
100%.
And it says a lot about Tiffany and Micah.
And it's not about what you say, it's also how you say it. I think it's just like so important. Okay, let's get into Zach and Bliss. That first encounter, oh my God. Remember when he goes, do you find my eye contact to be too much?
Yeah, and I do love that she responded, no, why? And she kind of put the blame on herself. And I was like, I loved that moment. It randomly gave me chills because
Natalie
You
got
know,
chills.
that rarely happens. I have like typically no emotions. I have a black heart.
No, you
But
don't.
it, yes, I do.
Natalie's self-deprecating, so please don't listen to her.
No, but I also have like, okay, we're like going off topic, but going through this entire Love is Blind experience, I have become such a pessimistic person. Like, I am pessimistic about love.
You're jaded now.
Yeah, I'm jaded. I was like, I don't believe in
Aw,
love anymore.
stop it.
But I do believe in Tiffany and Brett's love. But I also do believe in Zach and
Me
Bliss's
too.
love. Really, that moment did give me chills because, you see Irina make fun of Zach for not blinking and for maintaining too much eye contact in the earlier episodes. And then now you meet Bliss, who really doesn't care.
Yeah. You know that saying that they say it's like you're never too much for the right person and you will never be enough for the
Oh,
wrong person. I was like, this is the statement. That was the moment that I felt I was like, oh my God, that's so true.
wait, I've
Yes.
never heard that before.
You suck. You have heard that.
I've never heard that
are you
before.
what? I thought you were trolling me. You
No, I've never heard that
really?
before.
Oh my gosh, it's so sweet. I loved it. And also you can tell, like you can tell in these episodes, I feel like Bliss brings out a side of Zach that we don't see. Like we get a different version of him. He's like way more confident and sure of himself and just like present and like his quirky little things are like kind of balanced out by Bliss's like just calmness. I don't know. I
Yeah.
liked it a lot. Like I like them together.
I did like that in their initial meeting. You could tell they just really get along more so than him and Irina. I saw some comments on social media being like, why does Zach get a second chance though? Like, why did they bring him back? Like, he could have explored something with Bliss off the camera, like people have done in previous seasons. My theory is that production needed at least 5 couples to film because we've got 12 episodes this season, and that's more than any other season.
Yeah.
And I think that they needed at least 5.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that you said, why does Zach get a second chance? And it's like, I think that's something that Bliss is also dealing with in these episodes. She's like struggling because she had to swallow her pride essentially and be like, okay, I guess I'm going to go back to this person. But she believes in her heart. She said, on that very first date that I went on with Zach, I knew that was my person. And I think that's why she's swallowing her pride and kind of continuing on. And she like goes back to him. And it does kind of suck though. I'd be like, it would be hard for me because I was like, well, am I a second choice to you?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's very clear she feels like the second choice. Can we go back to that initial conversation that they have? Because Zach says 2 things that I found very weird. The first one he says is that he knew the moment he walked out of the door after breaking up with Bliss, he knew that he had messed up. And I was like, why didn't you walk back into the door then? Like, why did you go so far and then propose to Irina? And so, I don't know. I feel like he's like backtracking a lot and not kind of acknowledging the situation as it is.
Yeah.
And the other thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way is when he tells Bliss, your voice doesn't match your body.
Yes.
I wasn't sure what that meant because he keeps saying like, "Oh, you're like," he keeps telling her like, "You're nerdy and you're also weird like me." I took that when he said that, I took it that he viewed Bliss to be less beautiful than she is.
Like more of a nerdier look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my theory is that's why he went for Irina, thinking like Irina was this like hot Russian bombshell. And that's why he rejected Bliss because he didn't think Bliss would be as beautiful as she is. That is my theory. That's what I think he meant by like your voice doesn't match your body. So I don't know. I was just like, oh.
Natalie, the analyst, let's go. Yeah, no, I could see that actually. And he's like, fuck, I fucked up. Like, oops.
Yeah. I didn't like
He's
that in a
lucky.
later conversation, he doesn't acknowledge that she feels like the second choice.
Yes, I know. And you can really see his lawyer antics come out a little bit because he's like very forceful and he's like, you're not actually a second choice. If you really think about it, like I knew from the beginning. And it's like, bro, what? Like just let her speak and like be in her feels,
But Zach does that a lot. He just like interrupts a lot. Like he interrupts Paul a lot during their conversation.
Oh my God, you noticed that too?
Yes.
Every time Paul tries to talk, he just overpowers him. I'm like, can you let the man speak, please? Like, I noticed that too. Interesting. Also, can I just say, being on a boat, why were they allowed to wear shoes on a boat? That was like, I was like, oh my God, like,
What?
when you're on a boat, you should not be wearing shoes. That's like a
Why?
big no-no.
People
It's
wear
just
Sperry's on boats.
it's just
Sperry's
like
are water shoes
yeah, well that's
or
why.
boat shoes.
Yeah, you can wear boat shoes, but like you can't wear like outside shoes on a boat. That's like
Girl,
boat etiquette.
this is filming. You think they care about boat etiquette?
You should have you're right, no
If
free
I
feet.
if
No free feet.
no free feet pics. If I was filming a TV show and I would wear heels on that boat. I
Yo,
don't care.
that should be illegal anyways. You know
Okay,
how anyway.
I didn't even notice that.
Okay, I definitely did. So
I don't go on clearly I don't go on enough boats like Deepti.
I don't go on that many boats and I still knew.
But I did love that they had a date on a boat because I compared it to the date he had with Irina in Mexico, which was also on a boat. And that one was so awkward. And, like Irina's like, don't touch me. And then you compare it to his boat date with Bliss, where there's never a skip in their conversation. They're getting along so well. And he even kisses her and
I
proposes to her
know. It was actually
on a
like not an
boat.
ick kiss. It was cute.
Yeah, it was very, very
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah. You know what? Zach and Bliss, we are here for them.
I do love their like weird, nerdy interactions. I do really like them as a couple. And I am actually
Rooting for them.
the word like left my brain. I'm rooting for them.
Yes. We are rooting. I think that's going to be the two couples that make it, but we'll
Yeah.
see. But I don't know. Speaking of couples who are going to make it, do you think Jackie and Marshall?
No.
I know because okay, the episode starts off with so much love. Like you see Marshall cooking breakfast for her in the morning. She like rolls out of bed and she's like so grateful. She's like, "Oh my god, you made me breakfast. Like I have got nothing on you, baby." Like, she's just like so in love and like so happy to be with him it felt like. And then just takes like a quick turn, right? Like
Yeah, I want to give her a lot of grace during these episodes because, we obviously know that her dad had cancer and she was probably going through a lot mentally. Like Shane's father passed 2 months before he started filming for Love is Blind. And I know that impacted him a lot during filming. So, like, I want to give her empathy and be like, I get it. But at the same time, you could tell the way that Marshall and Jackie, like the way that they fight is extremely toxic.
yeah, no, you can 100% tell. And you're completely right. I think the fight makes me really question their compatibility when it comes to their love languages.
Yeah. Jackie and Marshall get into a fight where Marshall actually ends up leaving, and we start a scene with him coming back into their shared apartment or shared home, and Jackie's also packing up. And Marshall says, Jackie told me last night to man up. And Jackie says, no, I didn't tell him that. I said that he needs to be more aggressive and he needs to boss up. But they fight about it. I think when she says aggressive, it seems like she means like sexually.
Yeah,
like
sexually in the bedroom.
she goes, I want you to like churn me on or try to like churn me on. And he goes, I'm not like that.
Yeah. And then he also said the same thing. He's like, well, what are you doing for
Yeah.
me, Jackie? Like, you're not doing anything to like be in that same mindset on the other way around also, So they're kind of just, that's what I mean by their compatibility. I just don't think that their love languages align. And like you said, Jackie's going through so much right now. And, her mom doesn't approve of the way that she's getting married. Her dad is battling cancer. She's getting married, which is a lot of stress. And she's navigating her feelings around wanting more from Marshall as a sexual partner. So I feel like she's just like, at an all-time high with her emotions, and I'm like, girl, like I can kind of feel for her, but I didn't like the way she was yelling at him and saying certain things. I was just like, not Marshall, he's like a little teddy bear.
Yeah, I'm going back to a comment she made back in Mexico where she tells Marshall, you are someone I need.
Yes.
She goes, I hope I don't revert when we get back to Seattle. And I feel like she's reverting. She wants that like aggressive, toxic man. And like Marshall is this like confident, emotional, secure, gentle man. And like I think she knows she needs that, but it's like she doesn't want it right now.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought. I was like, I think she wants a man like Michael, or Marshall, but I don't think, is she ready for a man like that? I don't think she is yet.
Yeah, but I had the same thought where I was getting really impatient with Jackie being impatient, irritated, and a bit moody. I will say that their argument, for me, just watching that happen, I was like, there's no way that this couple can work out.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Shane and I, the way that we would argue, where you're just pushing each other's buttons so much that everything kind of explodes. Like Marshall even says to Jackie, like, I saw you as a project, like I saw the potential in you.
Yes.
And I thought that was, oh, when he said that, I was like, Marshall, no, that's the worst thing to say.
Yeah.
I think Marshall is like me because if we're getting really deep,
No pun
I
intended.
viewed Shane the same way. Not as a project, but I loved the potential in Shane. And I felt like being this caregiver to him, like as if he needed me to be a better person. And I think Marshall feels that way with Jackie. And he says it. He goes, I thought I could uplift you or empower you or like essentially make you a better person.
Hmm.
And that is like a very toxic way of loving someone.
Yeah, you can't fix the
Yeah.
other person. But
According to my therapist. And so I think it was really tough seeing him call her a project. Like I totally understand why she was offended by that.
Mhm.
And it was the wrong thing to say, and he knows that too. He just said, hey, I said it out of emotions. But I do think it's very unhealthy that he loves the potential in her instead of loving her for who she is. So they're
Yeah.
both very, like, you could tell that's a very toxic relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I think Marshall is also, but I do get the sense that Marshall is a very patient man though, which is why when he finds himself at his highest stress levels, he's like, okay, I just need to remove myself from the situation so that I don't like say something I'm gonna regret. And I just loved also meeting his sister. I thought that was such a special moment because I don't know why, like I just that was another moment I teared up because
I
she
did
was just
too.
so supportive. And this is the best part about, again, like meeting the parents and like family members. For me, I think the best thing ever is when you sit down with the people that you care about the most and they ask you questions like, hey, like, how did you meet Marshall? What do you feel about him? It's so great because the couples get to hear themselves through the eyes of their partner. And I think that's so special because it creates a deeper bond. And they're like, oh, like, this is how he feels about me, which is why, like, I think I clung on to Shake so
I was
hard.
like, Shane. I
Not
was like,
Shay.
what are you pulling an Irina behind my back?
Never. No, no, that's exactly how I felt with Shake. Cause, like, when I would hear him talk about me to my family or his family, I was like, oh my God, like, I didn't even realize this is how you felt about me or this is how you viewed me. And I think it gives the couples, like, yeah, just like a different lens into their relationships. I thought that's like was really sweet.
Aw, I never saw it that way. Deepti's getting me in my feels right now. I feel like my black heart is turning red.
Red.
Finally, some blood's pumping up in there.
Let's go.
Yeah, you could tell Marshall's sister Morgan is really sweet. And I think it says a lot about the family he comes from, like a very loving and caring family. Fun fact, my friend Justin Glaze, who is from The Bachelorette, is
Oh
Marshall's
yeah.
cousin.
Yes. I saw Marshall's TikTok and he's like, let me set the record straight.
Oh, about him being cousins with
Yeah, and he
Justin?
FaceTimed him and
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, look, it's
I
him.
was talking to Justin. He was all like, yeah, like I was going to tell you, like,
Uh,
that Marshall was doing Love is Blind. So I was like, what a small world.
it's
We love it when family members do reality TV.
I know, it's so sweet. Marshall made a joke too. He goes, Justin, how does it feel for me to be on the better reality show than you were on? It was so funny.
Yeah.
But Justin was so sweet. He's like, you deserve the best, bro. Like, it
Yeah.
was cute.
Justin's such a nice guy. So you could tell they just come from like a really good, loving family. And
Yeah.
you could definitely see that also in like Marshall's personality. We're going way forward to episode 8, Chelsea's birthday party. Guess who the producers invite? Good old Josh.
Josh.
And Marshall was so patient in that conversation with Josh. Because if Josh was doing that to me or to any guy from our season, there was going to be a black eye somewhere.
Yeah, like, are you really saying to him, it's Mr. Seal Your Girl? And then being like, we're good though, right, bro? We're good,
Yeah,
right? I'm
yeah.
like, you are wasted out of your mind. Like, he was so annoying. I'm sorry, but like, can we? It was just really, really bad. I hated him.
Yeah, he was super obnoxious. You could tell that the rest of the men and women also
Yeah.
don't really like Josh. Like Kwame, I think makes a comment.
Yeah.
He says, I worked so hard to get this guy kicked off the island and he made his way back.
Yeah.
And even Bliss goes like, I've lost so much respect for
Yeah, and then
Josh.
even Chelsea was like, she's
like,
just like,
"Who's
who
that
is that guy? Who brought
Yeah.
him in?
I
Yeah.
will say I think he was just very, very drunk too.
Hmm.
So I think that also added to his obnoxiousness.
But I hated his like personal like remember when he sits down with Jackie and he's like, "Oh, can I just have a moment with her to speak?" The way he like the body language, you could tell Jackie's just like, "Okay, can I have a little bit of space?" Cuz she's like Josh is so in her face talking to her and it just gave me the ick. I was
Yeah, her like body language was very closed off.
mhm.
Josh says a whole lot of nothing.
Nothing.
Like he says stuff and I'm like, what is he trying to say? Again, I think alcohol comes into play here. I think he was just really drunk, but I couldn't even understand like, are you trying to hit on Jackie? Are you trying to convince her to leave Marshall for you? Like what's going on?
Yeah, remember when he lies and said in the pods, like Marshall, you weren't the only one that Marshall was crying over. He was crying since day one about every single person. I was like, you're just gonna throw him under the bus like that? And it's not even true.
Yeah, Josh is so manipulative. He
The
even
worst.
says to Jackie, like when he says that line, like Marshall was crying over everybody. He goes, "I thought you were real, and I can't believe you fell for that." And I was like, "Oh my
Ugh,
gosh!" But
gross.
good for Jackie for not responding. You could tell she's kind of like very closed off and
Hmm.
not really entertaining that conversation with Josh. But then we also see in the previews that
Oh
they
yeah.
meet up again. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Um, but I did find that it was weird that Jackie and Marshall showed up at the party
Separately.
separately because in the last scene that we see them, so we see them fighting, but then they make up where she tells him, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
And then they show up separately, and Marshall alludes to the fact that they're not doing okay. So I was like, did something else happen,
Yeah.
after that fight? Or is that fight still ongoing? Like, you guys didn't resolve it? So I was very confused.
Yeah, and then also when Jackie walked in, remember immediately Marsha was like, "You're gonna catch a cold. You need to wear this jacket." And my theory was that Marshall's like, "You look a fine right now, and you need to cover up before Josh sees you. Like, put this jacket on, honey."
I kind of didn't like that he was so
I
pushy.
agree. I thought
Like,
it
I'm like,
was,
let her show her outfit off.
yeah,
Like, yeah, if you look hot in an outfit, like there's been times where I'm in like a short little dress in 30-degree weather. Am I gonna wear a coat? No.
yeah. I just
Like,
thought it was really fun. Yeah, you're right. He was a little pushy. It's like let her just
yeah, so I
be.
wasn't sure if it's because, Seattle's cold, so maybe he was like, I don't want you to catch a cold, or he was being like protective over her because Josh was there. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell if like Netflix was trying to like foreshadow something like about Marshall's personality.
Like being kind of overbearing or like is that
Yeah,
in a way?
because I don't know if you caught this too, but when Josh has this conversation with Marshall,
Hmm.
obviously Marshall like deals with that conversation very well. So Josh goes, "I'm Mr. Steele, your
Your girl,
girl,"
yeah. Hmm.
and and I think Marshall's like, "Yeah, yeah, okay," but after the fact, he says to himself, "What the fuck was that?" And he like cracks something in his
Yeah,
hand.
it was like it was like a plastic like plate type of thing. It's like a little boat.
Yeah, but I feel like that's being added in as some sort of foreshadowing.
Mm.
Like we kind of see that in the earlier episodes. I think it was like episode 2 or 3 where like Marshall like cracks
Cracks his
his neck,
neck.
because he's angry about Josh's conversation with Jackie in the pod. So I'm like, are these moments like is this something we need to pay attention to? I'm
Like,
not
is there a
sure.
fight brewing or something?
Yeah, yeah. So,
It'll be interesting to watch the next couple episodes unfold.
yeah. I think we
But
covered all the couples though, or
yeah,
covered everything that happened in the 3 newest episodes.
yeah, I think we see. Yeah, the summary of these episodes, I think it's like you really see all the couples doing their first together. Like they're intertwining their lives. They're cooking for the first time, cleaning,
Yeah.
dividing responsibilities. Waking up together, and yeah, having tough financial conversations. But yeah, you can definitely tell the honeymoon phase is over, and it's like time to get deep.
I
No
know.
pun intended.
I'm so excited for the next set of episodes after watching the preview. I'm excited to see, well, not
Yes.
excited. Maybe I'm sad. I'm sad to see what happens with Jackie, Marshall, Josh, like that whole situation.
Hmm.
Kwame and Chelsea, it looks like there's more problems to come for them. It looks like Micah and Paul will continue getting like the redemption edit. But we also see in the preview that she says to Paul at the altar, you know,
Yes.
before I say my answer, I'd like to see what you say, or something along those
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens with them. Again, based on everything we know.
The wedding episodes are definitely the climax of the series,
Yes,
so
yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so lots to come next week. But I really thought that these last three episodes, they were pretty messy. Like there was a lot of drama. So
On
this
theme with
cast
this.
is willing to put everything out there.
No.
Most of them at least.
Okay, I just have to say also, like, we absolutely love, love, love getting all of the comments and questions. So please continue to send them to us on our Instagram page at Out of the Pods.
And make sure you guys leave a review and subscribe because you don't want to miss next week's episode. See you next Monday.
Bye.